So we're going to talk about areas of triangles and quadrilaterals today. So first we're going to talk about three main areas of quadrilaterals, and the three main types of quadrilaterals are rectangles, parallelograms, and then triangles, which is not under quadrilaterals, but for the sake of it actually goes with parallelograms. Okay. So the first area we're going to talk about is a rectangle. Now, a rectangle, the area for a rectangle is pretty easy. It's just base times height. And base is the bottom, and your height is literally your height. It's up and down. Okay? The area of a parallelogram is also base times height. Again, here's your base, and then here's your height. Now, for the height of a parallelogram, as you can see, a parallelogram is often slanted. Your height has to go from the top of your figure, and it has to make a 90-degree angle with your base. And a lot of times, the height here does not do that. So you have to take your height from the corner of your parallelogram and make sure that it makes a 90-degree angle with your base. And then last is the area of a triangle. Now, the area of a triangle is half of a parallelogram. So it's 1/2 base times your height. And then the area of a square is just sides squared, and that's just, again, base times height. So let's do a couple problems with this. So let's look at here. This is a rectangle. And if you look back, a rectangle is just base times height. So your base times height is 8 times 3. So 8 times 3 is 24. Okay. And that would be the area of a rectangle. Now let's look back at a parallelogram. A parallelogram is base times height. So if we look over here, our base is 6 and our height is 3. Now remember, sometimes what they're going to do to trick you is they're going to put something such as a 2 here. Now this is not your height. Remember, your height has to go from the corner, and it has to go directly down to your base, and it has to make a 90-degree angle. So for this parallelogram, your height is 3 and your base is 6. You're going to multiply both of those, and the area of your parallelogram is 18. And then last we have our triangle. Now our triangle is 1/2 base times height because it's half of a parallelogram. So if we look here, we've got 8 is our base and 13 is our height. Again, they might throw you a curve and say, oh, here's a 3, but that is not your base. Your base, remember, has to go from the top of your figure and has to make a 90-degree angle with your base. Okay? So let's look. So 1/2 base times height. So your base is 8 and your height is 13. So let's do 13 times 8. And 13 times 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So you're going to go ahead and put a 2 up here and bring down your 4. And then 8 times 1 is 8 plus 2 is 10. So 104. And then you're going to have to go ahead and divide that by 2 because it's 1/2 base times height. So 2 divided by 104. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to bring down your 4. And 2 goes into 4 2 times. So the area of your triangle is 52. Okay? All right. So now that we've got all of our formulas down, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and have you guys do some of these problems. So actually, so in class you're going to actually do some of the problems. Here I'm just going to show you just the basics. And remember, in class we're going to go really in depth. It's going to be a lot harder. But just for the sake of the lesson, it's going to be a little bit easier because right now we're just giving you the foundations. And in class we're going to push the rigor up a little bit. So the next 3 shapes we're going to look at is a trapezoid, a kite, and a rhombus. Now the area for a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height times base 1 times base 2. Now, remember, if you can look here, the area of a trapezoid, I'll go ahead and zoom in. The area of a trapezoid here, if you look at your side for this trapezoid, it's slanted. So that is not your height. Your height has to go from top to bottom. So if you ever have this, you're going to have, see here how they make a figure for your height? You're going to have this because a slant is never a height for a figure. And then the area of a kite is 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. And then the area of a rhombus is the same. It's 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. So let's go ahead and let's look at some examples. So here we've got a trapezoid. And if we go back, our trapezoid is 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. So 1/2 your height. Let's go ahead. So 1/2 times your height, and your height is 2, times base 1 plus base 2. So that's 8 plus 5. So 8 plus 5. So the first thing you're actually going to do is you're going to take half of your height. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So 1 times 8 plus 5. And 8 plus 5 is 13. So 1 times 13 is just 13. So the area of your trapezoid is 13. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's look over here. This is your rhombus, and remember your rhombus is 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. Now if you look here, and remember in a rhombus, your diagonals are congruent. So if this is 20, then that means this side has to be 20. Okay, and if this side's 15, then this side is 15. So let's go over here. Let's go back to our example here. Now your diameter is the entire thing. And a lot of times people get really confused by that and they think, oh, it's just one side. But your diameter goes from one side to the other side. So in our example here, we've got one side to the other side. So 20 plus 20 is one diameter. So one diameter is 40. And your other diameter, it's 15 and 15. So your other diameter is 30. Now if we go back and we look at our formula says 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. So 40 times 30, 4 times 3 is 12. And then we just bring down both of our zeros. So it's 1200. And 1200 divided by 2 is 600. So our area of our rhombus is 600. Now let's go over here to our kite. Now in our kite, the diameters are not congruent. So this side's 16 and this one's 8, okay? So it's still 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. So 8 plus 8, because this diameter here, one side is 8 and the other side is 8. So one of them is 16. And the other diameter is 16 plus 8. So 16 and 8 is 14, that's 24. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to multiply 16 times 24. And 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6. We're going to go ahead, you're going to put down your 0. 2 times 6 is 12. And 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, so your total is 384. Now remember, you have to take half of that. So 2 divided by 384, because your formula is 1/2 diameter 1 times diameter 2. So we just multiply diameter 1 times diameter 2, and now we need to take half of it. So 2 divided by 3 is 1. Okay. 3 minus 2 is 1. We bring down our 8. And 2 goes into 18 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. And we get 0. And we bring down your 4. And 2 goes into 4 2 times. So your answer is 192. Okay, so the area of your kite is 192. Again, that's just the basis, that's just the basic of all of these areas. And in class, we're going to go more in depth and they're going to be a lot harder. But this is just the basics right now.